talk about it. Let's get somebody who knows far more about the New Orleans Pelicans and what to expect and what's going on currently, and that is the lead writer for Bourbon Street Shots. Also a mod on the NBA subreddit if you're into that sort of thing. I know I am. I'm talking about Shamit Dua at Fear the Brown on Twitter. Shamit, what's up, man? What's going on?
Hey, good morning, T-Bob. I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped. There's been so many things happening all in the NBA, and the Pelicans happen to walk away with one of my favorite players in the draft.
Yeah, so the NBA offseason, maybe Kushner tweeted it or something. He's like, it's more entertaining than like 50% of the NBA season. And yeah, it's been crazy the last few days, right? But let's talk about the Pelicans. And then let's just start right there. Last night, Kyra Lewis Jr. picked at 13. We've been talking about him all day. It seems like everybody's obsessed with this cat's speed. Shamit, give us a more in-depth and well-rounded picture of what you view the Pelicans got last night.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, speed is his quality that immediately jumps off the screen. It's probably he's going to be one of the fastest players in the NBA right out the gate. And that gives you so many advantages, whether you're playing in transition or in the half court. He has the ability to score from anywhere on the floor. He's a really solid shooter. He gets to the rim, obviously, with his speed. He can pull up for the mid-range. So he's a dynamic offensive player who's just going to make your team better by being able to create shots for himself and create shots for others. And I think the Pelicans have really missed a dynamic guard basically since CP3 left. And I don't want to give Kyra the mantle of CP3. He's definitely not that level of playmaker, but he's a very good passer and playmaker nonetheless. And so just being able to change up speeds and take guys off the dribble, this is going to be very exciting for the team. As far as defensively, this guy really gets after it. He has excellent lateral speed. He knows where to be. He pressures ball handlers. He generates steals at a high rate. And if he knocks the ball loose, he's gone. It's a bucket at the end of the court.
And so, okay, so how does he compare? Because to my layman view on it, right, when I look at Jackson Hayes last year, the similarities are that a guy with massive raw talent, right, the type of stuff that you cannot teach, a lot of upside, still has to develop a lot more. How does Lewis factor in on that development scale? Like is he closer than Hayes was? Is he farther? How do you view the timeline on this Lewis pick?
Yeah, so I think historically speaking, and this is something I've done a lot of research on, no matter who you draft in the NBA, they're going to take about 3 to 4 years to really start out producing those veteran minimums. It's those rare exceptions in the top 10 that, those guys are surefire stars. And then, every once in a while you get lucky and you get Giannis at 15, right?
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of guys you draft in the NBA, it takes about 3 to 4 years. So, that should be what we're looking at in terms of a timeline. But I think with Kyra, what's special about him is, he started playing in the SEC when he was 17.
Yep.
As a 17-year-old, he was playing against grown college kids, and he was really productive right out the gate, averaging around 13 points, I think 4 or so assists. And then, this following year, he averaged about 18 points and 5 assists and just increased his productivity all across the board. So I think he's a lot further along than Jackson Hayes in terms of being ready to contribute now. He's an extremely productive player. He's extremely smart, and I wouldn't be surprised, if he's getting more minutes out the gate than Jackson Hayes was.
So what does this mean then when you view this Pelicans roster, and we'll get to the potential changes that could still be coming, as Griff just alluded to with the clip you heard coming in. But as it stands today, how does this roster kind of look, like in terms of a depth chart?
It looks like it needs a lot of work. That's what it looks like. They, with the Drew Holiday trade, they got back George Hill and Eric Bledsoe. I'd be shocked if both of them were on the team, when training camp starts or games start on December 22nd. Maybe they end up keeping one of them, depending on how it works out. Besides that, they still got a lot of other guards to take care of. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They got Lonzo Ball, who's up for an extension.
Yep.
They even got JJ, who, it would make sense to keep JJ now that you have Stan Van Gundy to help ease the transition along. But you never know, right? This front office is always opportunistic about deals that come forth, but they definitely need a big man because Jackson Hayes is the only center on the roster at the moment. So I think we would agree he's not exactly ready to take a full-time starter role. So I think that's a major need. And then obviously you need more wing depth. Brandon Ingram is a wing. Josh Hart can play at the wing, but you would like more wing depth because that's the way the NBA is going. It gives you more versatility, allows you to play up and down. And so I anticipate some of these guards being shipped out to fill some of these positions. And then they also have about $9-ish million to go sign a player or players to fit some of those needs.
Do you have any insight? We're talking to Shamit Dua, lead writer for BourbonStreetShots.com. I follow him on Twitter at Fear the Brown. Does some excellent work. When Griffin alludes to having so many pokers in the fire, right? When he talks about how, look, we're working on free agent deals, we still got trade talks. That could go any direction. Do you have any leads, or maybe you have any personal ideas about directions that they could go, or that you would like to see them go, or that you're hearing that they're going?
Yeah, so I have a really good feeling. Let's just say a birdie told me that they'd be interested in adding a center who can really stretch the floor for Zion and Ingram and Kyra and Lonzo and these young players. I don't know if they'll be successful in pulling that off, but yesterday Kevin O'Connor reported that the Pelicans might be interested in signing Aaron Baines, who played under Stan Van Gundy in Detroit. But Baines hit a good amount of threes in Phoenix last year. It was kind of a revelation. And so he would kind of fit the bill as a center who can do all the dirty work, can box out, can set screens, but also space the floor. And I think that's the mold of player they're looking for. And whether they end up with him or not is yet to be determined.
So am I being dumb here, Schmidt? I was just asking my producers even, like, what? So where does Derek Favors fall into all this?
At this point, I'd be surprised if he returns. I think the only way he's returning is if it's at a massive discount, or like everything kind of just falls through, like plans A, B, and C just don't pan out. With the Pelicans, and so I think Favors is probably going to get more money elsewhere than the Pelicans would be willing to pay him. And so I really think that both parties will move in different directions.
So what did you think about the other moves last night? Move the 24th overall pick. Do we have the full details on that trade yet?
I think it is. You're getting back a lottery protected pick from the Nuggets in 2023, and it's lottery protected throughout. So at best, it's going to be better than the 24th pick. At worst, it ends up being like 30 or something. But around equal value. But I think what it really says is the Pelicans were not interested in adding a ton of young players in this draft.
That's a good point.
Probably due to the strength of this draft, but also due to the number of young players they already have to take care of. And so it's better to kind of kick those assets out into the future if like let's say a star player becomes available, and then you put all your chips on the table. But B, you're going to have a situation at some point down the line where you have Zion Williamson on a maximum contract. You have Brandon Ingram on a maximum contract, potentially, one or two other players that are making a lot more money. And when you're in those situations, the best way to add cheap talent is through draft picks. And, you look at all these contenders who have spent all their draft picks becoming contenders, and their closets are empty, and they don't have meaningful pathways to improve. You look at the Houston Rockets and the predicament they're in. I think Griff is really planning for that contingency. When we're really good, we're going to have all these pathways to continue improving.
Schmidt, I love it, man. So what's your opinion on what Griff and Langdon and Cash and the company, like, it's something that in the Dell Dempsey era we never could have imagined, this sort of long-term thing. I mean, we're talking about a Drew Holiday trade that is garnering picks in 2025 and 2027. What's your take on the overall direction of the franchise?
I think it's extremely promising, and I think what people really need to highlight is the ownership of Gail Benson as well.
Good point.
The way that she's empowered them. I don't, no disrespect to the late Tom Benson, but I do think it's a little bit of a different dynamic with how David Griffin and his staff are empowered, with regards to how Dell Demps and his staff were empowered, and when they were working under Mickey Loomis. This is its own thing now, and David Griffin and Trajan Langdon have full authority on how to build in this direction, and they're given all the financial resources to do so as well. Bringing in a big guy like Stan Van Gundy really speaks to the commitment of the ownership. And so I think it starts at the top, and then obviously the executives are executing a long-term vision that is going to hopefully make this franchise win for a sustainable amount of time.
I love it. Shamit Dua, I love your work. At Fear the Brown on Twitter, BourbonStreetShots.com, where you can check out his work. Shamit, thanks so much for joining us today. Anything you want to push before you get on the way out here?
Yeah, we've been pumping out podcasts almost at a daily basis, recapping off seasons for different teams. We had the Drew Trade podcast reaction as well. Stay tuned. We're going to likely have a draft one. And then with free agency right around the corner, there's going to be content. So just hit us up or hit me up at Fear the Brown, and let's get rolling.
All right, let's do BourbonStreetShots.com. Schmidt, thank you so much, man. You have an excellent day.